Hello, everyone. One moment, please. You should be able to see. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So it's great to see you all in chat. Please say hello and where you're from. We love to have that opportunity to see you and acknowledge you, and of course, be speaking back to you. So today's webinar is about Mahalaya. If that sounds like a foreign word to you, don't worry, it was to me as well 20 years ago when I learned about it. And it's a really interesting time. It is a time where our ancestors come to the earth plane in a more significant way. And let me tell you why that's important. So Dr. Pillai talks a lot about ancestors and their influence on us. And this period of time is important because our thoughts and actions create our life, right? So one might think, well, I'm in control of my thoughts and actions, but maybe not. The teachings of Dr. Pillai and his lineage is that our ancestors are actually having a significant impact on our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And so if you think you're in control of your life, you may want to think again and may want to use this upcoming window of opportunity to help offset some of the influence that these ancestors are having on you. So we get lots of questions over the years, and I'll address some of them later. But really first, why Mahalaya? What is it? As I mentioned, this is the window of time where we have, where they become available to us. In fact, Dr. Pillai said they are coming to your house during this 15-day period. And this happens once a year. Now there's other power times, I'll talk about them too, but this one is the most significant because it's 15 days where these ancestors are present for us to help them. And when we help them, we help ourselves. So I mentioned how our thoughts are not always our own. Our ancestors are influencing our thoughts. Why is that? Unbeknownst to us, most of the time, our ancestors are lingering in a variety of realms or planes, dimensions. And that is because they haven't moved on to fully go into the light, fully into the heavenly realms. And when they're stagnant or in these dimensions, they still have longing for worldly pleasures, maybe concerns that they didn't resolve in their last life or other births. And so as they're there, they're still thinking, they're still active, they're still having desire for earth objects, money, food, sex. All these things draw our souls back to the earth. Well, it also draws the thoughts of your ancestors back to the earth. And how do they get to access these desires? Through their lineage. So if you're wondering why you may have certain desires or inclinations, pulls, habits, you may be under the influence of your ancestors' thoughts. And it's somewhat of a relief, like, oh, okay, so maybe it's not me, and there is a solution that I can do. So we're going to tell you about the solution. So here are the ancestors. They're in the different dimensions. They're impacting us in a variety of ways based on what's in their mindset still from previous births or their last births. And they typically go to the folks who they think will help them the most, right? So that's us, more spiritual folks who may be able to get in touch with or in tune with this particular solution called Tarpanam, where we can make offerings to them, and in return, that eases and heals their soul so that they can then move on to another dimension. And when they move on to those other dimensions, guess what? Their thoughts and desires for those earthly pleasures or experiences are lessened, which means the thoughts that come through us from them are also lessened, which means we have less influence of what is going on with them. Now, a lot of people ask, well, does that mean they're bad? No, we're not saying good or bad. You could have a wonderful grandpa who loved you dearly, who also maybe had a drinking problem, and you may be receiving some of those those thoughts. And when you make an offering to him and he goes up into have higher realms of light, he no longer has those thoughts and desires. And guess what? Now you no longer have those thoughts and desires. You're helping him go up higher, and you're helping yourself be relieved of some significant setbacks that might be being created in your life. Also, the best thing about this is as our ancestors move up through these dimensions, they get to bless us. And the more powerful they become, the more engulfed in light they become, the more powerful their blessings are and more beneficial to us. So like I said, it is absolutely a win-win for us to be participating in this ancestor ritual, ancestor offering for our own good, and of course for the good of our ancestors. So one of the things people always ask is, like, well, how many, right? And I was on a webinar with Dr. Pillai last year, and he's like, well, first of all, you have millions of lifetimes and you have billions of ancestors. So this isn't something you ever stop doing. This isn't ever something that you ever stop working on, because it's pretty much endless. But that's okay, don't get discouraged. There's the technologies that we do to help reduce it as much as possible. And he also said that, you know, some of the ancestors are going to go up and be relieved, and some won't, and that there's just this constant cycle, but we want to continue to work on it all the time in order to help them move on, and for us to help become more clear, more healed, and move on in a more powerful way with our life. So I'll tell you a personal story. Before I met Dr. Pillai, my father had passed away about 20 years prior to that, or around that, and I was pretty young when he passed away, so it impacted me deeply. And I kept having this feeling, like this, first of all, when he first passed, I had this longing, like, to want to know where he is and all that stuff. But then after that passed, it was more of just like this, almost this heavy pressure. And I was like, oh, I think that's my father, right? And it was more like, it wasn't negative. He wasn't trying to do anything, you know, in any negative way. I think it was just his attachment to his children, to what he left behind. And there was this pressure, and I could just feel this constant pressure and presence. And it wasn't a happy thing though either. It wasn't like, oh, there's like dad. It was more of just, like I said, a constant pressure and presence. And after I learned from Dr. Pillai what you can do, I did what's called a Mahatarpanam, or an individual Tarpanam. That is when a priest in Kerala, a specialist who knows exactly how to tune in and access that particular soul, because you're doing it for one being. And I knew my father was around, so I did it for him. And it was interesting because the priest, I got an opportunity to speak to the priest, and he's like, well, does he like, I won't go into it, but does he like this and this and this and this? I'm like, oh yes, he does. And so they offered all of those things to him and helped him move on. I could feel the difference. I could literally feel the difference between that one ritual. And it was about, when the rituals were performed, it was maybe about 4 days later. I don't know, it was kind of like a transition. And then I just felt like this relief. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's free. But it wasn't something where I no longer felt like me. It was more that he was uplifted, and now I could feel more of him, his blessings, his beauty, his free spirit, all so happy. And it just, until you, I guess, experience it or feel it yourself, it could just sound like something that may sound weird, but at the time, I knew nothing about any of this, and I certainly wasn't indoctrinated into, hearing about it from others or anything. Dr. Pillai told me I should do it. I knew I felt this presence. I did it, and it was like night and day. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because now I feel like I have this beautiful relationship with my father, not where there's pressure, but that he's around and he's blessing me, and I am able to kind of have the beauty and magnificence that comes with having an ancestor who's moved into higher realms there for you and with you. So there's the difference. So some people often think, well, I want to keep them close. Well, you don't want to keep them close if they are suffering. You want to help them move up, and then they can be around you and with you in a way that is more beneficial to you and, of course, them. So that's what Mahalaya is. It is this time period that starts on the, I think it's the first, let me just check the calendar. It is the 21st of September this year, and it begins on the first waning moon, and it goes through all the 15 moon phases until it gets to the new moon. Now, some of you may know that new moons every month are the most significant time to make these ancestor offerings so that you have more access to your ancestors. So that's monthly, which is great, the new moon. But now that we have this once a year, we have 15 days. And those 15 days, there's actually different significance along the way to each of those moon phases. And the specialists in India will make special offerings for each of those 15 days on your behalf to your ancestors to help them become more elevated and move on. So that's kind of the little bit of the difference between our monthly new moons and this yearly, because we have all the different moon phases, the unique influence of each one of those, the unique offerings that are going to be made during that period of time. And then of course, leading up to the most powerful new moon, which is the Mahalaya new moon. And that's when it all ends. So I was watching a video just before, and Dr. Pillai said, the ancestors are coming to your house for the 15 days. So we have to be prepared, right? So there's two ways to go about this. There's two ways to prepare. There's two ways to really take advantage of this time. And one is to do your ancestor offerings at home and be open and receptive. And the other is to have the specialists do it for you in India. I do both because why not? Of course you want to cover all your bases. This is a very important topic. So how do you prepare at home? So starting on this particular day, and check your Vedic calendar, in the US, it is starting on kind of the 20th, but also into the 21st. When you do your ancestors' offerings, it's very important to do it during daylight hours only. So as we begin, what you'll want to have with you are certain materials. And make sure you have them all ready by the 20th as the day arrives. And that'll be rice or rice flour, black sesame seeds. And now if that's all you can get, that is fine. But if you have access to darba grass and tulsi leaves, then that's great. And if not, again, just the rice and black sesame seeds, or rice flour and black sesame seeds will do the trick. And a coin in probably the denomination of which you live and where your ancestors have been from. So, and then you'll do the ancestor ritual. I won't do a demonstration today, but there are lots of demonstration videos out there for you to use. I'll do though a quick kind of prayer of what I do. So once you have the let's say the flour and the sesame seed, and if you have the other items and the coin in your hand, you put a little bit of water in it. So it's maybe just about this much, and it becomes a little bit of a paste. You put it in your right hand, and if possible, face south, and you offer it up. And then I'd like to say a little invocation to gods, goddesses, to just whoever you believe in. It could be Jesus, anybody, right? To call on and ask for their support. And then you hold it up. I call upon, I'm making this offering to all the ancestors on my mother's side, to all the ancestors on my father's side. Come, please receive this offering. Let go of all your worldly attachments. Move into the light and bless me. And I usually say my family, bless me and my family. And then you rinse it off. You can scrape it into a bowl and then put it out into the yard or flowing water. It's a little dangerous to put down your drain because it can get clogged. So a little practical advice. So you'll make the heartfelt prayer that works for you. That's the one that I like to use, but you really want to do a couple key things. One is call upon the lineage. So whether it's 6 generations, 12 generations, 64 generations, or all generations. I like to just keep it easy and say all generations. But there are different ways that you can do this. So that's one key point. Make sure you're calling upon the generations, and make sure you're mentioning your father and your mother side so that they're both sides are covered. Then you want to say, I'm making this offering to you. Okay. And then after you make the offering and whatever heartfelt prayer you feel compelled to say, then ask them to, and you ask them to move into the light, and you ask them to bless me. Dr. Pillai says that don't forget to ask them to bless you. So we don't want to leave that part out. Now, when you're doing a lot of iterations, like I've done 108 iterations of the ancestor offering. So everyone turns out different. And sometimes I felt compelled to call upon, or not call upon, but I felt compelled to make a prayer for specific issues, like let go of your gambling, let go of your alcohol addiction, let go of your drug addiction, let go of your depression, let go of your suicidal thoughts, let go of your addiction to or attraction to food, let go of your addiction to or attraction to money, let go of your addiction to or attraction to sex, like all the things we think that they may be kind of hovering around the earth plane to still try to enjoy. We want to help them relieve that so that they can move up. Remember, they're moving up into these higher planes, they're gaining more energy and power, and then they have more energy and power to bless you. So that is a little bit about how we can, how you do that offering. I think I'm covering all of my questions. I'm going to take some questions in chat, so I would definitely want to make sure I cover what you all need. I mentioned that, as I told you, I would tell you about the power times. We have the monthly new moons, we have the Mahalaya, and then there's two other ones, Thai Amavasya and Adi Amavasya, which happen throughout the year. So these are all year-long significant power times that you want to be aware of. Now, one of the things that I personally do is I like to participate in what's called the year-long Tarpanam service, because honoring your ancestors and healing their wounds and their soul level is an everyday thing. So there's different ways you can do that. First of all, you should be doing it on your own every single day. Dr. Pillai said it should be a daily activity. And if you miss days, then definitely don't miss the new moons. And then there's, I remember I mentioned there's two ways to prepare for Mahalaya. One is to do the offerings yourself at home. And the next is to have the specialists do it for you. The specialists, obviously, they do this for a living. They've been trained in this. They're probably part of their lineage and their blood. Their ancestors are supporting them to do this ritual on our behalf. So it's significant, it's important. So if you choose to go with using one of the our service, Pillai Center service, then there's different ways you can do that. You can do the Mahalaya only ritual, which is the 15 days, or you can participate in what's called a year-long Tarpanam service. I do year-long. I subscribe to it. I pay every month. It's like paying my electricity bill, right? It's a way that I am able to feel like I've got something covered. I literally just budget it in. And there's a link below here on the year-long service. And I'm just going to take a look at that real quick because there's different packages. So what I invite you to do, if you're interested in the year-long service, which covers you every, almost every day, then there's different levels, and pick whatever works best for you, for your budget, right? So there's literally like daily, I think it's almost daily, 321 days of Tarpanam. There's also packages that include just certain power times per month, so 12 times. So there's a basic Tarpanam package, and that one in USD starts at $72 a month. Then you have your year-long premiere, and that is $90 a month. And then you have what's called the Royal, and that's $172 a month. I think that's the one that I do. Then you have like the Royal Plus. This is like for folks who are getting like every single day Tarpanam, like at the maximum. And this one is $359 a month. This is USD, so check your currency. Now that one's for the hardcore, and if you can afford that, then definitely do it. I'm at the other level, the what's called the Royal package. So that's something that you can do if you just want to make sure you're covered. And personally, that's just what I recommend. And whatever level you can afford, just try to do that. And if you have to, go to, get coffee a couple less times, then maybe that's an option for you. Or you can go with the Mahalaya specific packages, and that is just for these 15 days. Now, these are great too because they are really go and they get intense for this particular 15 days. Now, for this, we have 4 different levels that you can choose from, and those are based on price. So it could be just the first and the new moon. It could be a variety of moons in between. It could be all the moons plus different offerings at different temples, plus fire ceremonies that all help bring and support the deities who are also going to help and support you and your ancestors during this time. Interesting thing that Dr. Pillai mentioned in one of his videos is he said that one of the main priests, the head priest who does this every year, calls him and says, "I need blessings," because he sees and feels all these spirits. So this is also why we have fire ceremonies to the beings, the deities that support this time period, support you and your ancestors during this time. So if you're interested in having the done for you specialist services, go check out those 2 different pages, whether you want to go year long or if you want to go Mahalaya, and pick whatever works best for your budget. And that is what you want to take care of. And then for your at-home practice, you want to make sure you have the ingredients that I mentioned, beginning on the 20th or 21st, depending on where you are, and do it every single day during daylight. Do not do it before the sun rises. Do not do it after the sun sets. It's a daylight only opportunity. You can also do it as many times as you want during that day. I would highly recommend that, especially on the new moon, you do it 108 times, or at least more than once for this Mahalaya new moon. Pillai Center is putting together ways that we're going to support you during this time period to help you see the offering example so that you know exactly what to do. We're going to guide you. We're going to have other videos, so don't worry about that. We're going to support you in many different ways. In fact, Dr. Pillai is going to be doing a live webinar this coming Saturday, September 18th, on Mahalaya and soul genetics. So we'll see whatever is new and fresh information from him. And of course, anything that we can glean and use during this particular time. So let me go and see what kind of questions we have and how I can support you better. Okay, what if they had a drinking problem? Do you offer them whiskey? That's what the priests sometimes do, because it helps them get over that. Now, that's not necessarily what Dr. Pillai suggests for all of us to do, so I can't tell you what to do. Some cultures will do that. They'll offer what that person liked. That is, and like I said, that is what the priest is doing in India, offering what that person had desired. So I can't say yes or no if you should or shouldn't. Please use your instincts on that. But definitely you want to use the ingredients that I mentioned and do that tarpanam on your own, as well as have a specialist do it on your behalf. Someone said, finding it once a day, powerful. Can't wait to do 108 times. Yeah, I did 108 times. It is intense. Like, you really feel like you've been through something afterwards. And it was interesting because one time I did it at the beach and I just kept getting these new revelations, like, oh, my ancestors had problems with this. Oh, and I just, like, whatever, those prayers that came out were so spontaneous and felt like they were really directed towards them to help move them into the light. I want to mention real quickly that last year, Dr. Pillai did this beautiful video, and he mentioned how we also have exalted ancestors. They're called Pitrus, and that's when they have he calls them the not the Joe Blow ancestors. They're people who had significant power, energy. They had gained significance on the earth plane, and now they were able to get to a realm of light, a loka, that had significance and power. And those folks are really important to access during this time, because they can bless you even more intensely. And so we want to just keep that in mind. Keep in mind that not all our ancestors are necessarily created equal. Some of them have more energy and power to bestow blessings, to remove scarcity from us, to give us health blessings, wealth blessings, happiness blessings, things like that. Any other questions? All right. How long do we wait or need to wait? Okay, so good question, Evelyn. So after you've made your offering, I don't wait very long. It's just a few seconds. You really, once you start doing it, you may become in tune with feeling or sensing them activated. So really, I just make the offering and I wait there a few seconds, and sometimes you feel some activity and then you can let it go. And then you can do it again if you feel like, oh, there's more. There's a lot going on, or maybe it's a significant day, you can do it another round. Or you can even do one for the your maternal side and one for your paternal side. So you can do, this one's just for my mother's side, and then this one's just for my father's side. You can do those separately if that works for you. Do you do the premium package? Yes, that's what I do. I think that's what it's called. No, I do the royal package. It's a little bit more and you get a good amount. Can we use Tulsi powder like a form of capsule? You can try. Sure, why not? Good. I'm seeing some activity in chat saying some people had started doing, all ancestor didn't feel quite as good. They went back to doing a different number, and that's fine. This is like what you will you'll work on. Katina said, this has been an altering experience for me. This Mahalaya signifies a solid year every single day doing Tarpanam for ancestors. I'm so excited. Wow, that's congratulations. That's a really big accomplishment. And I invite everybody to take that on as a challenge. Like, can we do Tarpanam every day? It could literally take you a minute. It could literally take you a minute. What I do is I have this stuff in my bathroom. So the coin is there and I already have everything mixed together and in a cute little bowl on my countertop, and then I just do it right there. Takes 1 minute, and then you reuse the coin, so you can rinse the coin, put it back, and release and let go of the other objects. Is buying a package for another who would not know has it to be effective? Yes, you can purchase a package for somebody else. Absolutely. I've done it before. It's fine. Right, you do not reuse the Darba grass or any other things, but you do reuse the coin. You make a large volume of paste and perform? Yes, I do. So I just, get a bag and make sure there's enough. And I only use about a teaspoon each time, so. Great, Elizabeth said, you've taught me to do it anywhere. I've done it in my car, in my bathroom, outdoors. Just be truly present for it. Absolutely, absolutely. I remember one time I was at a corporate job and it was like a new moon, and Dr. Pillai was like, don't miss this new moon. And I was like, I have to do it. And he said for us to do it every hour at that point. And so I had a little bit with me, just a little bag, keep it in your, your wallet, your bag, purse, whatever, and then just take a little bit out and do it. Can Tarpanam be done for past life gurus and people who have helped us in this lifetime and past lives? So Dr. Pillai recommends that we stick to our ancestors. He has, in the past said we can do Tarpanam for groups of people, let's say those who perished in the Holocaust, those who perished in war, like you can do Tarpanam for a group. But when you start getting into individuals who are not related to you, that's where there can be some karmic transfer, which we'd like to avoid. We'd like to keep our own karma to ourselves. So stick with your ancestors. There's also been lots of questions about spouses and things of that nature. Yes, so your family is your family unit, whether you're married or whether you have blood connection. So you can do it for your spouse, your spouse's children, and then of course all of, if they pass away, I should say, and then anyone in your family. All right, any other questions? Ra says, my ancestors enjoying this program, feeding the cows. Wonderful. Yeah. So sometimes, not sometimes, but there are part of the ceremonies during Mahalaya or ancestor connections or offerings is feeding cows. And that can also be done. That's part of one of the packages for Mahalaya. Question, sometimes I can see future happenings. Does Tarpanam going to increase that? It may, if the blessings of your ancestors are for you to have more clairvoyance. So remember, it's all about the blessings of the ancestors. It even said that if we gain things in this lifetime, we may lose them or not be able to enjoy them if we don't have the blessings from our ancestors. It is said that if we have scarcity, we can't attract anything. It is because our ancestors are creating that scarcity and that they can also clear it. It is said that if we have health problems, that could be passed on from the lineage of our ancestors that were experienced, and that once they are resolved, we too can be resolved. It's every aspect of life our ancestors are having an impact on. And like I said in the beginning, it's kind of like on one hand, it's concerning. And on the other hand, it's a relief because now you know what the solution is, that there's a solution to this, that you may have been feeling certain ways, and it could just not be you. It could be your ancestors' influence on you. Remember, there's a lot of them, and their thought patterns are being transmitted to you, and you're picking up on them. So you're picking up on those thought patterns, you're thinking them, you're feeling them, and now you're having this experience, you're wondering why. It's because they want an experience. They're disembodied. They no longer have a body to experience this world. They can't eat, they can't drink, they can't gamble, they can't have sex, they can't enjoy, a ride through the country. Like the things that they enjoy doing, they can no longer do. But so they're still attached and wanting and desiring those experiences, but can't do it. So now they're just in this limbo state, and they're kind of like you can imagine how you feel, right? Like when you want something but you can't have it, you start getting a little anxious and disrupted, and you're not feeling wholesome, you're not feeling free, and that's how they feel in a constant state. So this is why it's so important for us to assist them out of that state. Let them rise and let their thoughts be cleared, their soul be at peace, and then that gets transmitted to you. This abundance, this beauty, this clarity, this peace that they have is now transmitted to you instead of their angst around not being able to have what they want, right? So, any other questions? $100 per day or during the next 15 days. So first of all, you do not have to do Tarpanam 108 times a day. That is just a suggestion if you want to be hardcore. You can do that. If you also want to be a little hardcore, you can do it every hour from sunrise to sunset. Not necessary, But what you should definitely do is at least once a day, every day. And if you miss any days, don't miss the new moons. And if you miss any time during the year, don't miss Mahalaya, right? Like, so you can see the progression of importance. Mahalaya is the most important time of the entire year to be helping us with these, helping our ancestors. So you don't want to miss that. So make sure you're prepared. We are going to be hosting some live sessions with Pillai Center teachers that will guide you through exactly how to do the Tarpanam ritual. So stay tuned for that. And also come to the next webinar next weekend with Dr. Pillai, where he'll be giving us some new content. We need to bathe after offering Tarpanam. You do not need to. You should be, you should bathe once a day, right? And so you should have bathed before you perform the Tarpanam. Any other questions? Okay, looks like everyone's got the Tarpanam ingredients. Okay, so here's someone, my dad passed away last year. I would like to do individual Tarpanam for him. The question is, how do we know, since we do not have access to the priest, how do we know it was accepted? The priest will keep going until it's accepted. The priest isn't going to just not fulfill the service. He will do whatever it takes. And he's a very skilled priest, trust me. So he's not gonna let that go. But your dad will receive it. It'll happen. So I definitely recommend that. You can go to Pillai Center. Hopefully we have the link below, but if not, go to Pillai Center and search on, I think, Mahat Tarpanam. Maybe we can post that link below. That's definitely like, it's a little more expensive, but to me, totally worth it. Question, may they resist clearing and blessing me? Then can I just declare myself sovereign? Nope, you're not sovereign, because you're always going to have, like, you have their DNA. When you have their DNA, you have their karma. And that's just a reality. That's a spiritual principle. Now, does that mean we're not, divinely sovereign? Dr. Pillai says, yes, we are. But we do have these human constraints that also come along with this human body and having been birthed here and have ancestors. So it's just something we have to work with. Now, let's not jump to the conclusion that they're going to resist your offerings. Let's just assume that they're going to be receiving it, because guess what? They want relief too. They want relief too. And if you can offer them some form of relief, they will take it. Now, maybe there's some stubborn ones. Okay, maybe it'll take a few times for you to make offerings before they get it. That's okay. But it is important to still do it. And yes, Maria, it's about assisting them to move on, because they want to move on. At their soul level, they want to move on, but it's kind of like, a child who wants to eat too much candy, but, the being needs, the child also needs sustenance, right? It needs things that are good for them, but they just want to go grab. This soul is like, I want to go grab, I want to go do those things. But at the soul level, what's good for them is the nourishment of this Tarpanam offering. What's good for them is to be nourished and let go of that attachment it's grabbing and move into these higher realms. There's a question about, for the service to be provided for one specific ancestor, would it be sufficient to do it once? If you're doing the Maha Tarpanam, the grand Tarpanam, you can do that just once for that ancestor if you're doing for just one person. But when you're doing all of your ancestors, I would recommend you have to do that often, right? Like, so that's every day, every month. And if you order the service, do whatever works best for your budget. So if you could only order it once from the service, then do that, and then do it at home. But if you can order it on a monthly basis with the service, then do that and also do it at home. So there's levels, there's levels of how this will be beneficial to you and how you can participate. I hope that helps. Aiden, Insta Aiden. Yes, good question. Can women do tarpanam during their menstrual cycle? Yes, they can. I did this last year. Can I use the same program I purchased from last year? Absolutely. So you want to just renew whatever program you did last year. And that's why, I feel strongly that this is something we always just keep doing. It's not something that goes away for us. All right. I'm already doing the yearly tarpanam. Do I have to do this one? It depends on which yearly tarpanam you're doing and if Mahalaya is included. So please check out whatever you're purchasing and see if Mahalaya is included. And if you have questions, just write to office@pillaicenter.com and we'll help you figure it out. Because I believe some of the year-longs don't include all that's in the Mahalaya packages. So you get to pick and choose in that respect. But the higher level year-longs include everything. So you'll be fully covered. But I don't know that because I don't know which ones you're doing. So take a look, do the comparison, and write to office@pillaicenter.com, and we'll help you figure it out too. I don't have details of my ancestors beyond my grandparents. You give whatever you know. So if you don't have their names, you just do the best you can and provide as much information as you can. Because what's going to happen is the priest is going to say their names, and then he'll also just call upon whoever else is in that lineage, kind of like what we do. If we say all ancestors on my mother's side or my father's side, we don't necessarily know all their names, but we're energetically calling upon them. The priest will do that too. Explain the difference between Homa and Rameshwaram and Kerala. So both Rameshwaram and Kerala are significant places that tarpanam is performed. It's just a matter of the power spot, the location, the energy it holds, the lineage that is there. Rameshwaram is a little island off the end of bottom of India, and it is known for its karmic clearing. So it's one of the reasons we have the rituals being performed there. I also believe that they're being performed in Dr. Pillai's family temple. So in Rameshwaram, we're having the rituals being performed in Dr. Pillai's family temple, so you get the extra blessings of the guru there. Meanwhile, Kerala has a famous power spot where, and I've been there several times, it's amazing. It's right on this particular river. It's a conjunction of different energy vortexes, and this is where the majority of tarpanam gets performed in Kerala. If you go there at a new moon, there are hundreds of priests and other people performing rituals. It's a significant place for these particular ancestor rituals, which is very special. Vishnu temple. Vishnu is known to help the ancestors cross over as well. Does the Mahalaya package require any info other than their names? No, that's it. And even if you don't know their names, it's still, you give your information and it'll, the priest will do the best they can. Any other questions before we wrap it up? All right. Great. Someone said, I started doing on new moon days and we'll do it in Mahalaya too. Fantastic. All right. Any other questions? We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Quick reminder, Dr. Pillai will be with us next Saturday, September 18th at 11 a.m. Pacific time on the same viewing page that you're watching this. And if you have any questions, send them in during the week. We would love to assist you. If there's any specific questions that can't be answered by one of our staff members, we'll pass that on to Dr. Pillai, but first the staff members will do our best to answer you. Also stay tuned, we will be adding more live events to support you in preparing even more for Mahalaya. Specifically, we'll be doing guided tarpanums with a Pillai Center teacher so that you don't have any questions about what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. But hopefully I've given you all the starter information that you need to get going. And we hope to see you next week with Dr. Pillai. We hope to see you take advantage of these packages, this either once a year Mahalaya or the year-long monthly monthly engagement. So wishing you abundant blessings and ancestor blessings as well. And we'll talk to you soon. Namaste.